Hello, everyone. As you are hopping in, we're really excited to be with everybody today. As you jump in, wow, our numbers are climbing so fast, I can't even say it.
Well, I
So
know,
as
didn't we have, don't we have like 200 people registered or something like
yes,
that?
yes,
Yeah.
such an exciting time happening right now in just this part of the world in general, in the regions that we're in, but also just really exciting to see people really looking and going, okay, there's so many opportunities out there. So we're excited to have everybody on today. Like I said, as you guys are jumping in, find the bottom of your section near your screen. You'll see that there's a little Q&A button. Type in there where you are watching in from us today. We love seeing where everybody's coming in from. We've had some all across the world in previous webinars, and we're excited to have everybody on today. So take a minute, type in your Q&A section there where we're coming in from. Springfield, Missouri, Southport, North Carolina. We got two so far jumping in. As you all are jumping in, like I said, type in the Q&A section there at the bottom where you are calling or watching in from today. Maybe some of you are calling in today to Dallas, Texas. We've got Washington, Las Vegas, Oregon, another Dallas down there. The southern states are representing today. We've got
Any,
California.
anyone out of the country, Alyssa?
I got a Panama City.
There we go. All right,
Yep.
good. Yeah.
Canada. Very excited. We got two Canada, Alberta and Ontario.
Okay.
Very exciting, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping in with us today. We're excited to be able to dig into the content. And Mike's going to show you all something in just a minute, We had a really exciting news this year. He released a book. So if you have not had a chance to see his book, we're going to dig into some of those ideas today. But as we finish up the topics today, if you thought, man, that was such a great topic that we covered, and I would love to learn more on that, his book is a great idea on how to dig into that. He's going to show a link later for you to be able to download it or be able to purchase it, but he'll show you how to get a hold of it. So join us today. We're going to go through. Mike's going to start in just a minute. I'm going to introduce Mike. He's our CEO of our company. Like I said, he wrote a book earlier this year. Brain power today. Yeah, earlier this year about what it looks like to move overseas, but also just explore what it looks like to purchase overseas. So whether or not you're looking to purchase or you're looking to just invest overseas, it's a great introduction to be able to understand all of the ins and outs that you need to see when you're looking overseas. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mike Cobb, our CEO. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike. We're really excited to hear what you have to say and dig into these topics. So
Great. Alyssa, thank you. Nice to be here. I appreciate the fine introduction. And yes, I did write the book last year, not last day, but anyway, it's all right. Hey, it's 6 o'clock where I am, 5 o'clock where you are. Yeah, it's been a good work day. But thank you everybody for joining us. This topic is absolutely near and dear to my heart. The 10 things that we should ask or know when we're buying property overseas. And going all the way back 32 years ago on my very first trip to Belize, and actually my first trip was earlier. My first business in Belize started 32 years ago, and and as we made mistakes, we wrote them down. We tried to take the lessons from them, right? And we started to compile them in what is called the Consumer Resource Guide. That's a free resource. You'll have the ability to grab that here this afternoon and download it. It's a great book. I mean, it's 50 pages and it's these 10 things kind of synopsized. But over the 29 years that our company ECI Development has been in business, we've continued to write down the things that we've done wrong, and we've watched other people make mistakes, and we've learned from them as well. And we put them all together, and I did. I wrote my very first book, which is now an Amazon bestseller. I'm so excited. How to buy your home overseas. But this lower part is really what matters. And get it right the first time, right? Get it right the first time. And if we follow some really easy principles, and we're going to talk about those in a couple minutes, we really can do a far better job of buying property overseas, transacting overseas. And that's what we're going to dig into now. And let me go ahead and start the PowerPoint here, and we'll get her going. All right. So really simply, we're going to talk about the 10 things that we should the things that we should know, but the things we should ask, right? These are questions we should ask when we buy property overseas. And And so if we do these things, we will absolutely do a far, far better job of transacting. Here we go. It's hard to remember. It says 15 critical questions. Actually, the Consumer Resource Guide, I don't know if you can still see that or me or anything, but anyway, the Consumer Resource Guide is the free document. By the way, my book is only 99 cents. I would love to give it away for free. I actually would give my book away for free if Amazon would let me. I have to charge 99 cents so they can put it up and publish it and get it out. For less than $1, you're going to get an incredible resource. So I hope many of you will decide to get it. This you can actually just pick up by sending us an email to info@ecidevelopment.com. We'll send you the Consumer Resource Guide. It's got 15 questions that we should ask when we buy property overseas. My book expands it to about 30 questions and concepts, plus a whole lot of other things too. But anyway, the meat of this slide is simply that 15 things is hard to remember. 30 things is even harder to remember. But all of us can remember three basic principles. Buy what you see, own community, and know the developer. And we're going to go through 10 examples of that tonight that show you these three concepts in action and why they're so important. And by the way, info@ECI. I think actually maybe Diego, if you're still here, just when we close out this evening and we send the follow-up email, please include a link to download the Consumer Resource Guide. Everyone's going to get that. So we'd like to make sure you have that as an incredible resource tool. I mentioned we've been in business 29 years. That's correct. We started ECI Development back in 1996. We serve adventurous souls. I am 99% sure that all of you on this call tonight would consider yourself to be an adventurous soul, right? You wouldn't be thinking about a property overseas if you didn't have a spirit of adventure. And so we recognize that, and that's been our mission from day one, over 29 years, serving folks like yourselves who have an adventurous soul. And I share that. I moved my family, my wife Carol, my daughter Amanda, back in 2002. We moved to Nicaragua for what we thought would be 2 or 3 years. And after 3 years, my wife and I went out to dinner one night and we made a list. We wrote down all the reasons to stay in Nicaragua, all the reasons to come back to the United States, because we'd kept our house. We put it into rental because we thought we'd be gone just for a couple years. And at the end of the evening, Carol and I looked at the paper, and it was very obvious that the reasons to stay in Nicaragua were long and powerful. The reasons to go home weren't particularly significant, with one exception: family. And then what we realized was we actually spent more quality time with our families living in Nicaragua than we did when we lived in the States. They would come down for a visit, and it would be 2-3 weeks. We'd go up to the States and visit, and it'd be a couple weeks back and forth. And we actually found that quality time with our family went up when we lived overseas. That might or might not be true for you too, but we made the decision that we would stay in Nicaragua a little while longer, and that turned out to be 14 years, and we loved it. Another little daughter, Emily, there in the red helmet, she came along. The girls were in dance, ballet, classical ballet. They were in Girl Scouts in Nicaragua. Imagine that, Girl Scouts, right? And then we still watched our Steeler games and ate chicken wings and nachos and stuff like that too. But the girls got to go out and explore the jungles for butterfly farms and play in the cloud forest and see howler monkeys and camp out at the beach and do turtle releases, right? And so we really did have this best of both worlds experience. And I hope many of you are considering an expat experience, right? I think for some of you, you're investors and you're here to look at investments overseas, and we'll touch on that as well as the lifestyle. But it is a tremendous lifestyle overseas, right? I mean, all the fun things that draw us, that pull us, right? I mean, look at fishing, snorkeling, kayaking, golfing by the beach. I mean, how fun is that, right? Exploring the jungles and the cloud forest, great hiking, rafting if you're into that, ballooning, right? There's this incredible world of options, and this is what pulls us here. This is what gets people excited. This is why people go overseas. And whoa, what's that? Sadly, this is Margarita Madness. And Margarita Madness is when you go on a trip, in this case, maybe Cancun, and you're having the time of your life, right? It's vacation. You're partying. You just, that afternoon, you went and looked at some Mayan ruins. You swam in a cenote at the bottom of a sinkhole. That's pretty cool, right? So now you're walking up the beach and some developer comes and he says, hey, come on over here. Listen, if you just run up here and, take a 30, 40-minute tour of our property, I'll buy you dinner at Senior Frogs tonight. Right? That's the gimmick, right? Well, guess what? Here's some folks that, an hour later were writing paperwork on a condo in Cancun and celebrating that at Senior Frogs. It's not how we buy real estate in the US, Canada, Europe, Australia. It's just not how we do it, right? I mean, we look at several properties. We probably have a realtor involved. Gosh, I hope we have a realtor involved, right? We have a banker involved, presumably. We probably have a lawyer or two involved, a trust lawyer and maybe our lawyer, right? There are a lot of people involved, and the time it takes to go through this process is weeks or months, not minutes or hours, right? Margarita Madness, you might get it right. You might really love that condo in Cancun. But you know what? A lot of folks who fall into Margarita Madness don't. And so what we really have to do as consumers overseas is we have to force ourselves to slow down, proceed with caution. And we're going to talk about why. We talk about apples and oranges. I love giving this in a live setting because I can ask, what do we compare? We don't compare apples and oranges. Of course, we compare apples and apples, right? But are all apples the same thing? See, nuance is really important, and this is why we have to proceed with caution. We have to slow down, right? We don't compare apples and apples. We compare the same type of apples with the same type of apples because we don't know what we don't know. We can't, right? But we're going to talk about ways to expand our radar screen, and that's really what we have to do. And not only do we not know what we don't know, we also have to forget what we think we know. When we bring assumptions with us, they may or may not be true, right? Things that we're absolutely sure of, they're just absolute assumptions, may or may not be true. And I'll point out a couple of these that will really highlight why so important. And so the most important thing that we can do as consumers is simply this right here, this slide. We must change how we think when we go overseas because we're leaving a land of seller beware and we're moving to a land of buyer beware. Seller beware, just think about it this way. There are so many protections out there for us, right? In fact, the next slide. Look, I mean, Fair Securities Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act, Fair Housing Act, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, right? Telephone Consumer Protection, the CAN-SPAM Act. I like some of these. Anyway, but you just go on down, right? These are all either laws or regulations or agencies, right? And then you got the private agencies like, Ralph Nader and those kind of guys, right? And you have lemon laws. You have all kinds of consumer protection when you're in North America and Europe. And when you go overseas, you're in buyer beware. We do not know how to transact in a buyer beware environment. Most of us do not because we've been living, transacting, and working inside this bubble of seller beware. Now we're in a whole new universe, buyer beware. None of these agencies or protections exist. We, the consumer, have to look out for what we do. It's our responsibility to do the due diligence. Nobody is looking out for us, right? And here's how we do it, right? We ask questions. We ask lots of questions. We ask the dumbest questions you can possibly think to ask because there are no dumb questions, right? And again, if we have a toolkit in the Consumer Resource Guide, somewhere in the Consumer Resource Guide has a checklist, I think. Anyway, it's in there, a little checklist that you could print out. And if you're going overseas to get property, print 3 or 4 pages of it. And it has the questions and the things that you should, ask, right? It's got like 30 of them, right? So it's just so helpful to have that as a tool. But if you don't have that and you're looking at property, simply remember 3 things. Buy what you see, own community, know the developer. Let's dig in. Oh, some resources, Consumer Resource Guide, other handbooks. These are resources for you. Reach out. We'd love to provide them to you. The Consumer Resource Guide, of course, all of the handbooks for the various countries. Oh, I forgot. I do want to tell a little story on myself. If you speak Spanish, you already kind of get the joke here. But if you don't speak Spanish, let me tell you. So you saw the slide a little while ago of my wife, my daughter, Amanda, and me right after we'd moved to Nicaragua. We moved down in October. And one of the directors of our company at the time, our Nicaraguan entity, Grand Pacifica, The gentleman was also, he was a director of our company, but he was also the chief of staff to the president of Nicaragua, right? President Bolaños. Our director, his name was Ernesto Leal. So Ernesto is getting married between Christmas and New Year's, and I'm going to stay for that, of course. We had a little family Christmas, and then Carol and the girls went back up to the States to visit family. I stayed in Nicaragua to go to Ernesto's wedding. And lo and behold, I get to the wedding, and I am seated at a 10 top table with the president of Nicaragua, President Bolaños. And I'd met him once before in his office, kind of a meet and greet kind of thing. But now I'm sitting at a table with him for the next 5 hours, right? The president of Nicaragua. Now, people are coming and going and whatever, and he's talking to lots of people, but we're having a great conversation over the course of the wedding. And at the end of the evening, he hands me his business card and he writes his personal phone number and email address on it and hands it to me. And I hand him mine, of course, and we say goodnight and go on our way. Well, Monday morning, I'm in the office and I think, this is pretty cool. I'm going to send him a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, right? Christmas had just passed and New Year's is coming up. And you guys all know the song Feliz Navidad. I'm not going to sing it for you. But anyway, Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, and Feliz Año Nuevo. Now, I had arrived in Nicaragua 3 or 4 months beforehand. I got a Dell computer. It has an N, if you look at the bottom there, A-N-O, and then there's versus A-N-Y, the N with the squiggle over it. I'm like, I don't care. Who cares? The squiggle, no squiggle. So I kick off a Feliz Navidad y Feliz Año Nuevo, right? With the N without the squiggle. And one of my guys, I said, hey, whatever. I just sent a note to President Bolaños. He goes, what'd you send? I showed it to him. And he goes, oh my God, Mr. Cobb, do you realize that you just wished the president of Nicaragua a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Anus? I mean, right. Año, year. Ano, anus, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. I did not know how important a squiggle over an N is, right? And, thank goodness nothing happened. The president was very gracious, knew what I meant, and never said a word about it, right? But we talk about, different kinds of apples, nuance, little things, big differences, right? A squiggle over an N. So let's go ahead and we'll dig into some of the questions that are property related. But I've made most of these mistakes, not all of them, but most of them, many of them, right? And so again, these are hard-earned, tuition-paid lessons that you're going to get tonight for just joining us, right? You're just joining us tonight, and you're going to get some great information about how to maybe not make the same mistakes. So question number one, is there year-round access to the property in the rainy season and the dry season? That's a picture of me headed out to our Grand Pacifica property in 2000, 2001, before we'd even moved to Nicaragua. Now it's a paved road the whole way out, right? But I mean, rainy season, right? And that's the question, isn't it? Is there access in both the rainy season and the dry season? By the way, that road in the dry season is great. They hit it with a grader. You can drive 45 miles an hour on it. It's a hard packed clay dirt road. But when it rains, it's negative 1 mile an hour with the oxen pulling you out, right? And then, things like dry stream beds, right? On the way out to Grand Pacifica, there were a couple, there were a couple creeks that you had to cross. And, in the dry season, they're dry. I mean, there's no water. You're down, up the other side. This is the beginning of the rainy season, but when the water gets higher, like you're not going to make it, right? So you got to have bottos and bridges and culverts and things like that, right? This is how we can absolutely guarantee access to our property in both the rainy season and the dry season. Engineering, does the existing infrastructure include? I like the word existing. So this is about buy what you see, right? Existing infrastructure include utilities. Maybe they're underground, maybe they're not. I like underground utilities. Paved streets, sidewalks, right? How about things like internet? How fast is the internet? I mean, that's important to us, right? We need to be able to, log on and watch our grandchildren sled riding in Minnesota or something, right? When we're staying warm down in the tropics, right? Whatever it is, or doing our work. Now people are working remotely, right? So it's really easy to test internet speed. You just open up your phone or your laptop and you go to Google, you type in speed test. This little thing comes up, you click it, and it tells you how fast your internet is, right? But we need to think to do that. We need to do that, right? But we have to think to do it before we can do it. And then this issue of stormwater, right? A lot of times people don't really pay attention to the stuff they can't see. Stormwater, when it rains in the tropics, oh my goodness, it can rain a lot in a very short period of time. And Infrastructure, while it's not really sexy, in fact, it's not sexy at all. It's just moving dirt mostly, right? It's unbelievably critically important. And so either the stormwater, the rainwater, right, is going to go where it's been designed to go by engineers and installed big pipes to carry it somewhere, right? Or it's going to go where God wants it to go. And maybe that's good for your house, but maybe it's not. Stormwater engineering is so critically important. And the reason that, and look, you don't have to be able to read a CAD plan or a giant architectural document. All you have to do is ask the developer, may I see a copy of your stormwater engineering plans, please? If they can go to a cabinet, open it up, and roll out a big roll of paper or pop up a CAD file on the screen, and you can read English and says, stormwater, agua pluvial. I mean, there's some other, but I mean, like you can look at it and you can go, yep, it's been engineered. And then when you go out on site, look for the storm drains, look for the retention ponds, right? It's really easy to do. But if we don't do it, this could be the result because stormwater engineering is critically important. Now we'll talk about comfort, right? I mean, the last question was really about, economics, right? If your house is destroyed, right? That's a big economic impact. But is there enough water and water pressure, right? You go into a home, you go into a condo, turn on all the faucets and flush the toilets. How much water pressure is there? Pretty easy to test because you know what? Drip showers are no fun. I don't know how many you've taken. I've taken a lot over the years traveling around the developing world. You know what? When I've been out riding the property, right, I do a lot of scouting property on horseback. When I get done with a day on horseback, swanking through the fields and the jungle and wherever else I'm looking, I want to come back and take a really nice shower, right? And you got to have water pressure to do that. So it's simple to test. Those are kind of buy what you see, but they're also quality of life issues. And these issues do blend. But we're going to switch over now to community a little bit, right? The first was buy what you see. The second principle is own community. And community is really the hallmark and foundation of quality of life, right? When we leave our homes, if it's an investment, it's one thing, but I would still say invest in community, right? Own community, invest in community. But if your lifestyle is to move overseas, my goodness, like you're leaving your friends, your family, your work, if you're retiring, your church, your softball league, the people in your cul-de-sac, your neighborhood, whatever it is, you're leaving all the people you know, family, friends, and you're moving someplace new. How do you make new friends? Like, where do you make new friends, right? This is an important question because if we go without friends, right, very few people are true loners, right? Community, foundational for quality of life. Is there zoning? Is there a building requirement? Do people live there? Right? And so let's talk about zoning. This is one of those Dorothy and Toto. We have to forget what we think we know. Right? Coming out of the U.S., Canada, Europe, whatever. There's a ton of zoning. Right? And so we don't even think about it when we buy a house. We never think about zoning in a neighborhood, right? Because we're pretty darn sure. In fact, we're 99.999% sure that like they can't do what I'm about to tell you next to it, right? But let's say you build this beautiful home, beautiful in the middle. That's a beautiful, gorgeous home right on the beach. And somebody comes along and builds the Hobbit house off to your left. And you're just like, ugh. I mean, like, ugh. All right, well, whatever. Plant a bunch of palm trees and screen it or something, right? Whatever, right? But it can actually get a lot worse. Your other neighbor on the right, they decide they're going to build a 6-story pink lighthouse and they're going to turn it into an after-hours disco bar that starts at 11:30 at night and rolls till 6 a.m. every night of the week. And they're your neighbor on your right. And you say to yourself, they can't do that. Why? Why can't they? They own the dirt. They can do whatever they want with it. Put in a pig farm too. Doesn't matter. They own the dirt. Zoning. There is no zoning unless there is, but you have to ask and you have to know what it is and you have to know who is enforcing it. Critical question. Who's enforcing the zoning? And then we have this concept, ghost towns. Oh my goodness. There are literally thousands of miles of coastline in the Americas and around the Caribbean that have been chopped up into lots, sold to speculative investors, and there's not a house in sight. And it's going to be a ghost town forever because I simply just look at this and I say, Who wants to be the first person out on this house all by themselves? And the answer is almost nobody, right? These are ghost towns, and they will stay ghost towns for a long, long time, decades, maybe many decades. Urban planning is something very, very different. Creating community requires planning and effort and money. And those are the things that make a difference, because when you plan community, you get sidewalks and trees to provide shade, and you get homes, and you get people, you get activities, you get places that people want to be, right? And then you create places like restaurants and swimming pools and activities, farmers markets, and turtle releases. This is one of the things my daughters loved, right? But in order to have community, you have to have people. And to have that, you have to have homes, you have to have access, you have to have creature comforts, right? The amenities, right? You have to have all the things that bring people there and keep people there. And so when we're looking at a property overseas, it's important to look at reality. Buy what you see is also fundamental to own community, right? Is there a place to golf where you can actually hang out with some people that you might become friends with, right? Or go out on the water and enjoy a day on the water. Getting involved in environmental programs, getting involved in beach cleanups, gardening programs, right? Joining the Rotary Club, doing great things. These are ways to meet your neighbors. These are ways to meet lots of people who are in your greater neighborhood as well, and do something meaningful at the same time. But at the end of the day, what you'll be doing is creating your community. And truly, that's foundational for your happiness. Number 5, question fiscal responsibility. Is there a homeowners association? Is the fee high enough? Right? I own condos, right? I own many condos, and I don't like high fees. I'd like to pay lower fees, of course, right? But the question we really have to ask ourselves is the condo fee that's being proposed enough? Right? If you have gymnasiums, tennis courts, swimming pool, pickleball, golf courses, whatever it is, you have all these amenities, right? You have security, you have landscaping, right? On and on and on, and you have all this stuff. And if the developer says, well, the HOA fee is, whatever, $50 a month, and you scratch your head and you go, no way. Remember, they can say anything they want. It is buyer beware. There's no law saying that developer has to run the numbers and prove out the numbers and show you reports and financial statements. There's nothing that says that, right? They says $50 a month and we'll cover everything. Yeah, until he leaves, he sells all of his property, he goes away, and then all of a sudden, the HOA's, short, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there's a big assessment, right? Are the fees high enough? That's us, the consumer. We have to figure that out. Is there a competent team? Right? So myself, my business partner, Joel Nagel. By the way, he's giving a webinar next week on asset protection. So I hope you'll join that on the 11th. I don't have the details, but on the 11th in the evening, he'll be doing an asset protection webinar. Anyway, he and I are business partners. We co-founded ECI 29 years ago. And you know what? We started the business, but very, very quickly we understood that we needed a team of people to get the job done. And so as you see a company, right, ask for an org chart. Really, just ask for an org chart. Well, I'd like, this is a great project you got going on here. Can you send me an org chart? Show me who's working on it, right? If you walk in and the developer's promising this, that, and 1,000 other things, and there's 3 people sitting in the office, like, you might scratch your head and go, well, how are 3 people going to do all of this stuff, right? They might say, well, they're over here on the projects, blah, 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 and then give me an org chart, right? Completion, financial, development company, financially sound, completion. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of condo projects, developments, homes that are just simply unbuilt around the Americas and in the Caribbean because of the financial instability of the developer or builder, right? And promises can be fleeting, right? That's gonna happen, I'm gonna, whatever they say, right? The bottom line, just like this lady, you remember some of the commercial. Anyway, where's the beef, right? The better thing we can say as the consumer in a buyer beware environment is show me the money. Show me the money. Like, you're talking about all this stuff you're going to do. You're going to build a golf course, tennis courts, clubhouse, right? I mean, let's just pick a golf course for a second, or let's not. I mean, let's pick a clubhouse and a swimming pool, right? I don't know, half, $750,000. Great, Mr. Developer, Mrs. Developer. Just print your last month's bank statement and show me, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 sitting there, because you're going to build a clubhouse with it, right? And a swimming pool. These beautiful renderings you just gave me, right? Show me the money, right? Show me the money. Ask for a balance sheet. Ask for financials. We provide financials to anyone who asks. You have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. No problem. You sign an NDA, we'll send you our financials. That is wise, prudent due diligence on your part, and you should absolutely ask for that from any developer or builder if they're building your home. Get a financial statement. Get a copy of their bank record, right? Sign an NDA. Know if they are financially capable of completing your home or what they promise they're going to do. Strategy: does the development company have a business plan? You know, look, a business plan is a couple things. One, it's just simply a piece of paper, first of all, but it's an important piece of paper because what it says is that the developer took the time to write down his plan of action, a roadmap. How am I going to get from A to B to C to D to the end of the project? What's that roadmap look like, right? And you know what? It's okay if you're all about, jumping and investing in a wing and a prayer, whatever, go for it. Like, oh yeah, the guy was down here surfing and diving, and now all of a sudden he's building condos. Great. Let me see a copy of your business plan. Well, we just sort of wing it. Okay. I mean, like, have at it if that's you're comfortable with it. I wouldn't be, right? Business plan. But the other thing a business plan does is if again, a good business plan is if they've written where they want to go from A to Z and you can see what Z is, and if in your mind you're looking for a wonderful, quiet place, just, single family homes, low density, like, you're just going to chill. And their end point is 6 big hotels, senior frogs, spring breakers. That's where they want to go. Well, you know what? Your alignment might be this, right? But on the other hand, if they talk about where your alignment, that's it, right? So get alignment, and business plan allows us to do that. A couple things on our business plan I always like to point out, right? Our business plan is pretty sophisticated, runs about 300 pages, right? And one of the things that we absolutely drill into, and this is important for you as a consumer to understand, is what are the demographics that are driving the destination. Let me just say that broadly and generally, the destination, right? And then you can drill down and say the project, right? But it's more fundamentally a destination. But Zogby surveyed 103,000 people. That is a massive statistical sampling. And what they found was 11.6% of the people said that they were seriously considering owning property overseas. That's 1 in 10, right? 11%, 10%, 1 in 10, right? So massive statistical sampling, huge number of people coming overseas. That tells us sort of the big gross numbers. But you know what? If we're investors, that number matters, right? And the Canadian data is actually stronger. TD Waterhouse did a survey. 45% of Canadians plan to spend a month or more outside of Canada every year. I'm guessing it's winter, right? Makes sense. And again, if you're an investor, a lot of these folks, if they're spending a month or 2 or 3 snowbirding somewhere, they're probably not buying a property, but they're going to be renting a property. And if you're the landlord that rents to the Canadian snowbirds, right, that's a great business to serve. 45%, half of Canadians plan to spend a month or more outside of Canada every year. This is a tremendous opportunity for real estate investors to serve this demographic. Again, understanding the demographics are powerful. And then we just simply have this one, which I think that anybody who's coming down to live gets this already. People are retiring, 11,500 baby boomers retiring every day for the next 16 years. Again, if you're coming as an expat, more and more folks are coming down. You're going to have more neighbors and more potential friendships. It's wonderful. If you're an investor and you gear your business model to serve this demographic, 11,500 baby boomers retiring every day. But here's the kicker. For the next 16 years, you're going to build a business model that's got a decade and a half track record built into it. Like, that is a solid business plan. And surveys are nice, but actually what's interesting to me is how many people are already doing it. 8 million expats already live outside the US and Canada. 600,000 of them collect Social Security as a direct deposit somewhere. And guess what? It got a lot better. the government reaction to COVID, the stay-at-home work orders. I know they're calling some people back and all that kind of stuff too. But that genie's out of the bottle. You're never getting that genie back in. You might get his arm back in, you might get his toe back in, but that genie is out of the bottle. And especially with millennials, they want to live and work overseas in vast numbers. 83 million baby boomers, almost half of them want to live and work outside the United States at some point. Again, as an investment, as an investor, right? Being their landlord will be a tremendous place to be. So again, positioning yourself for that with that kind of thought process in mind. We've done it. We work across the region. We understood that not everybody wants, the same thing, different strokes for different folks. And so you'll see that later. We really focused on being broadly appealing across the region. And the other thing we did, and we'll touch on this at the very end of the presentation, is we figured out that the middle class, right? The middle class is largely underserved or not served. And so our product is really designed to serve a middle class consumer. And so there's another place where reading our business plan would help you get alignment, right? If you say, nope, I'm in that 1%, like I like living on yachts and flying private planes and I don't want to hang out with the middle class people, you know what? You're not the right customer for us, right? Because middle class is who we serve. We serve the folks that, have 100 to say 350, $400,000 to invest generally. And we've created a wonderful community of folks in that target range. The one thing that's important to note is that the community itself is what matters, right? Is what matters. And so making sure there's good alignment with your goals and what you want and what that goal of the business plan from the developer is as well. We do offer financing, and we partner with Key International Bank. This was the business I started with my business partner, Joel Nagel, 32 years ago in Belize. It's a mortgage bank, and if you're buying property with us, great. If you're buying property from our competitor, reach out to Key Bank. They will give you a loan. They loan to anybody and anybody, North Americans buying property in Latin America. Competency and track record, pretty fundamental, right? Track record says, they were able to get something done. This is a picture of Grand Pacifica maybe in 2006, 7, right after the roads got done. This picture was taken a few years ago with, I don't know, 60, 70 houses there now. From cattle pasture to community, real community. We have 80 more homes under construction. I think about 60 of them are already completed, some right on the ocean, some just off the ocean, but 80 new homes, 80 new neighbors coming right now. In Belize, we have 21 over-the-water tiny homes. I got to update that picture. We just had our pre-welcome opening ceremonies. We have a Best Western. We have a Marriott under construction right now, 202-room Marriott. So when you start to talk about track record, right? Have they done the things that they're saying they're going to do? What's their track record? How long have they been in business? We have a great share price track record as well. And then the final question is my favorite. I'm speeding up just a little bit because I want to make sure we get to some of the other elements here and save a few minutes for Q&A. Question 10 really is my favorite question because it's so visual and it absolutely hits right on the nose the concept of we don't know what we don't know. Look at the question. Is the home or condominium plumbed for hot water in all the bathrooms? And coming out of North America, most of us would just go, duh, yeah, right? So this is an old picture. This was a condominium I saw in Costa Rica, goodness, 12, 13 years ago now. But look at that. I mean, just $400,000, $1 million views, Pacific Ocean, spectacular. And that's a pretty darn nice bathroom. That's a nice shower and the toilet and stuff. But if you look over on the right side, you got the sink, you got lighting over the mirror. I mean, this is well done. And you've got, nice, I don't know, from the American standard Delta faucet, right and left, hot and cold, right? Two faucets for hot and cold water. But if you get down on your hands and knees and you look under the sink, what you actually see is a cold water pipe coming out of the wall with a Y splitter so that both of those hot and cold taps up top have water coming out of them, but they're both cold. And so is the shower in 2 of those 3 bathrooms. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was spending $400,000 on a condo and I didn't check under the sink, and the first time my Well, if my mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law, but if my mother-in-law came to take a shower in a guest bathroom and it was frigid cold, right? Like she would not be happy, and I'm sure I wouldn't be happy a few minutes later, right? We don't know what we don't know. We don't know that two of the three bathrooms in that $400,000 condo had cold water only. We have to get down on our hands and knees. We have to look under the sink to see if there's hot water. Asking questions. Knowing some of the right questions to ask are critically important because what these questions do is they allow us to change how we think. By the way, now when people see it, they send me pictures. They'll email me a picture. I hope you will too. If you happen to be using this information that you're getting tonight and you're looking under sinks and lo and behold, you see the cold water pipe split, snap a shot of it. Send me an email, right? If you're in the US, I can send you a chocolate bar. I'll send you a copy of my book and a chocolate bar. If you're in Canada, can't send the chocolate bar, sadly, but I will send you a copy of my book. Send me a picture. I love getting these. They're great. So here's the bottom line. You're all going to get a copy of the Consumer Resource Guide. Uh, 15 questions in there, three simple principles: buy what you see, own community, know the developer. If we just simply hold those three things in our mind and have changed how we think, we will be far, far better consumers in a buyer beware environment. And I want to move into a little bit on the reasons that so many people are going overseas, right? It can be lifestyle, right? It can be investment. But this idea of diversifying, right, is critically important. And for me, it really boils down to a very powerful concept called the time machine, right? If we're investors, if I had the magical ability to take us all back in time right now, 20 years, and say, hey, bring one check with you. You run around for the next 4 or 5 hours. You make one investment with that check, one check, make an investment, and magically I can bring you all back to your homes, your offices right now. I'm guessing that almost all of you, in fact, I hope all of you, would come back a lot wealthier. Hindsight is powerful. The concept of a time machine, just imagine that. Imagine being able to go back in time and have a do-over, knowing what you know today, right? You can. The developing world is a time machine. It's not like a time machine, it is a time machine. How I put the various countries on this chart, I call it the popularity curve, right? I just simply asked myself a question. I said, if a young couple in Des Moines, Iowa gets married, Saturday, this weekend, where are they going on their honeymoon Monday? Yeah, where are they likely to go? Down at the bottom left, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador? Probably not. In fact, almost guarantee not. Bermuda, Caymans, Cancun, Costa Rica. Yeah, lots of them going there, right? It's popular. Popularity matters. Popularity matters for lifestyle and investment. On the lifestyle side, it's really simple. If you say, look, I'm willing to have the electric off once in a while. When I moved to Nicaragua, the water would go off once a week. The electric was off, 3 or 4 times a week, right? I mean, we couldn't get the stuff we wanted at the grocery stores a lot of times, right? But today that's different, right? Today that's a very different thing. But if you're okay with that, right, that's a lifestyle decision. It's not very popular. It's not very developed, right? Place like Bermuda, you can get anything you want all the time. The water's always on, the power's always on, right? And kind of flows across that spectrum, right? But if you're an investor, those two blue bubbles on the left, right? The more popular it is, the more cash flow you get, but the higher price you pay to acquire the asset. Products in a less popular marketplace are much less expensive to acquire, right? They have far greater room to appreciate over time, but the cash flow is going to be lagging, right? So again, as investors, if we can align, I love that word, alignment, align our goals with the investment we're making, we'll probably make better decisions. And you might simply ask yourself, why is Mike putting up a picture of pizza? You know what? I love anchovy pizza. I don't really care for Hawaiian pizza. But if you like both or either of these or don't like them, if you had a pizza parlor and you did not like anchovy pizza, would you sell anchovy pizza in your pizza parlor? I hope the answer is yes, because it's not about what we like, it's about what other people like. Well, let me show you some anchovy pizza. Nicaragua. Nicaragua's anchovy pizza for a lot of people. It's not very popular. Not many people from Des Moines, Iowa headed down there for their honeymoons, right? Not very popular. But we've done tremendous business there over the years because some people like anchovy pizza. Not nearly as many as that like pepperoni, right? But some people like anchovy pizza and we serve them up, right? So we've built a wonderful community, again, many, many years now. This is our neighborhood with 130 homes, 80 homes under construction. You'll see that. But look at the price points for that middle class consumer, right? And off the water, what, a couple hundred yards maybe off the water, $140,000. Direct oceanfront, $500,000. If you go to Costa Rica, times three, maybe times four. If you go to California, times 10, right? This is Pacific Ocean, right? For $500,000, a couple blocks off the ocean, or it's not blocks, but you can see that, a couple hundred yards, under $150,000, right? This is a tremendous value proposition. And the one thing I would encourage everybody here to do is if you're looking at property in Costa Rica or Panama or anywhere in Central America, and you have not put Nicaragua on your places to look at, put it as a place to stop and visit, see it with your own eyes. You may be incredibly favorably impressed. Other homes going from 150 to 450, $500,000. Just beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. Honduras, not particularly popular. Again, not many honeymooners headed there, but again, some people like it, and we have a beautiful project there under construction in Honduras. Panama, you'll see, is much higher up on the popularity chart. People know it because, quite frankly, it was the canal and the U.S. military for 100 years or so. And so people know Panama. They have beaches, they have highlands. We actually have three projects in Panama: two on the beach, one in the highlands. The beach project is an 8-acre parcel inside the Los Islotes project. It's a beautiful ocean view property. We'll begin developing that in the next several years. This one I really love, though. This is the Highlands. And the reason I love this property is that it's springtime all the time. They grow strawberries and coffee in the hillside around this beautiful, beautiful property that we own. We're going through final stages of permitting, and in the next, I don't know, 8 to 12 months, we'll have property. So if you're interested in always spring in Panama, let us know that, and we'll certainly give you a first look at whatever comes out of the hopper there. So by the end of the year, I think. El Salvador, again, kind of down on the list, not particularly popular, but they were the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender alongside the US dollar. And a property owner there, his name's Mike Peterson, asked us if we'd be willing to help him build a community, build a village for Bitcoiners, a physical community for the online community of Bitcoiners. And of course, we said, absolutely. And then Costa Rica. Costa Rica, much, much higher up on the popularity curve, right? There are lots of people from Des Moines, Iowa, headed to Costa Rica for their honeymoons. Costa Rica, we have a huge property there, 1,100 acres, about 2 miles, 1.8 miles of coastline on the Caribbean. And that will be a marina community. And there's already a great proof of concept in place. The Los Sueños Marina on the Pacific side, sold out, world-class marina. We're going to do the same thing on the Atlantic side. But for people who are ready for Costa Rica today, we partnered with a wonderful developer, Gil Phelan, who has Grandview Estates, a beautiful, beautiful community of homes in the mountains outside of San Jose. The infrastructure's in. Let us know if Costa Rica is on your radar screen. We'd love to connect you with Gil and let you see what he's offering. And finally, why Belize? Well, truly Belize is in the sweet spot of the curve. And countries kind of pass through the sweet spot of the curve over maybe a 3, 4, 5 year period. Belize is about a year and a half, 2 years into it. I would say Belize has another year, year and a half left in the sweet spot of the curve. It's popular enough to cash flow, yet the prices of assets still haven't bubbled and pushed up like they have in some of the other places. It's a great opportunity. Overnight visitors, that's the chart on the right. COVID, you can see it fell off the cliff, but it did for everybody. But look at that rebound. Last year was the highest year on record, just 5 years after COVID took it to almost nothing. And what, if you're an investor, I think what you absolutely see here is opportunity, right? The room inventory went from about 7,000 to about 10,000 over an 11-year period. the number of overnight guests went from 300,000 to 560,000. This supply and demand imbalance, right? There's an incredible imbalance. And what that means is opportunity, right? Because all those overnight guests, they need a place to stay. And the type of traveler that's coming is now very, very different. Mainstream travelers, because again, popular honeymooners, right? They're looking for a brand. We picked up the Best Western brand. ECI has the Best Western brand in Ambergris Key. Beautiful condos 3 blocks off the ocean for $150,000. We also picked up the Marriott brand. You saw a picture a moment ago of our Marriott under construction. Here we are breaking ground when we had all of the money in place to build the hotel, right? Talk about financial competency, right? That's important. Like, we did not break ground until we had all the money to finish the hotel. So, so, so important. Here's what it looked like last month. I was just down there last week. It's going gangbusters. I hope you'll get the chance to come down and see it. Come visit. Beautiful rendering of what it's going to look like when it's done, and whole ownership. Somebody asked me, I was doing a webinar for a real estate group this week. Somebody said, was that timeshare? I'm like, no, this is not timeshare. When you own this, you make an investment of $350,000. You own it. You get title to it. In the US, it's a condo title. Down there, it's called a strata title. It's yours. You can move into it. I don't think anyone's going to. I'm just saying, it's yours. You own it. For $350,000, you have an oceanfront Marriott resort product, right? A residence. This is really why Belize is in the sweet spot of the curve. If you went to Cancun, like times 3, times 4. You go to the Cayman Islands, times 5 or 6. You go to Bermuda, forget it. Like, it's in the millions of dollars there. I don't know what the times is, right? So I'm just please, if you've missed opportunities other places, if you think, gosh, I should have bought that condo in Cancun or the Caymans or the BVI, right? This is your time machine. You can do that right now. You can buy a condo 20 years ago in the BVI or the Caymans. It's called Belize. So anyway, I know, but really, if you wish you woulda, now you can. And, uh, and that's really important. We're going to switch gears here for the final few slides of the presentation. Um, Everything we've talked about till now, anybody can own it. You're going to own a piece of property. You're going to get title to the property. Anybody and everybody can own that. If you can put 20% down, we can work with KeyBank to arrange up to 80% financing on a property. So with very little money down, like on a $150,000 home, right? You put down $30,000, you can finance the rest. You can have a home near the beach at Grand Pacifica, right? I mean, just some incredible opportunities. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to switch gears for the last few minutes, and we're going to talk about 2 investment opportunities that are only open to accredited investors. One is an incredibly dynamic asset that will appreciate over time. The other is a high yield cash flow investment. And it depends on what kind of investor you are. If you're looking for big gains, big capital gains over, say, a 5 to 7 year period, one of these investments is perfect for you. If you said, look, I want to absolutely maximize my cash flow, just bang on, give me the most cash over an 8 to 10 year period, we have an investment opportunity for you as well. The 2 opportunities for accredited investors, they really take advantage of this time machine concept, but I always like to put up a definition of accredited. This is the US definition, but basically it boils down to a net worth of $1 million, excluding your primary home, or income of an individual at 200,000 annually, or a couple at 300. If you meet these qualifications, then you are probably an accredited investor. You can reach out to us. I've got an email address in a moment, and we'll send you the paperwork where you will look at that and make sure that you are and you meet the definitions. And if you are, we can actually share information about these investments with you. The idea of the time machine fundamentally is the bottom line, and why you might want to look at one of these investments, which is owning a piece of our company. Right, you can actually own a piece of our company. The talent is there, the business plan is there, the geographic diversification across the region. We'll talk about that. The demographics, we looked at that briefly, just powerful and getting stronger as more and more people have the capability to work overseas. It is driving migration outside of the United States and Canada in incredible numbers, and those numbers are growing. And then if we're successful in taking the company public, a huge asset boost for your investment. We are across the tropics. One of the things that people love about ownership of our company is the fact that with one investment, they are truly diversified throughout Central America and over the next couple years into South America as well. One investment, broad diversification across the region. The investment portfolio boils down to three basic tenets: the real estate itself, the hospitality and operating businesses, and then some investment opportunities like our teak plantations at Grand Pacifica. So we've got three basic fundamental elements to the investment when you own a piece of our company. If you decide to invest, you own the holding company. The real estate assets are there, very, very foundational to us. But you also own the service companies, whether it's hospitality, rental and property management, utility companies. We are the utility company at Grand Pacifica. We will continue to vertically integrate whenever we can, so that if you're an investor in the holding company, you own a piece of really everything that we do. We've got strong financials. Again, you fill out the form with an NDA. We'll send you the business plan and the financials. But maybe the most important thing, paper's paper, people are people, but at the end of the day, when you own a piece of our company, you own real, tangible, hard assets. We have over 4,000 acres of property, over 5 miles of beachfront. These are valuable assets, getting more and more valuable as they climb the popularity curve over time. And as we force the appreciation via the development of golf courses, hotels, roads, community, right? So we can force the appreciation, but time works in our value as well. And then we'll be adding other assets, whether it's vineyard community in Argentina or Chile, for the folks that want Napa Valley, right? There's a whole segment of consumers that want to live in Napa Valley, or the Canadians that want to live in the Okanagan Valley. And you know what? If you can write a check for several $1,000,000, go have at it. But if you can write a check for a couple $100,000, we can deliver that same lifestyle experience for 10 cents on the dollar. And this is the demographic we're going to serve with our vineyard community. Ecuador, phenomenal destination. We'll probably be in the highlands, another springtime all the time, in and around Cuenca, probably a beautiful colonial city. And then again, who do we serve? We serve the middle class. Yeah, if you're really, really wealthy and you want that Napa Valley experience and you're off on that right side of that curve somewhere, write the check. You can afford it. Go buy a home in Napa. Go buy a home in Okanagan Valley, right? But if you got 100, probably not 100 for a vineyard community, but if you got 200 for a vineyard community, or you can finance, you can afford that. If you want a home near the beach for $139,000, we can serve you, right? We've identified this market as radically underserved, because the truth is, if you want to impress your friends, buy a fancy Park Avenue restaurant. You'll impress everybody. If you want to make a lot of money, own a Chick-fil-A. ECI is the Chick-fil-A of the business. We serve the middle class with a very, very solid, wonderful product, a product that they can afford, a product that they will enjoy, that they do enjoy, and we do it for a fair price. This is how we make a lot of money. And this is your opportunity to own a piece of the company. Be one of our shareholders. And the other opportunity, that's the asset growth, long-term capital gain. We actually have a program with our Marriott where you can become an investor in one of the Marriott residences without taking title to it. It's a cash flow investment. The returns are spectacular. You get 100%. I did not make a mistake on that. You get 100% of the cash flow from one of these residences until you've doubled your money, which we anticipate is about 8 to 9, maybe 10 years, but about 8, 9 years. You will double your money in 8 to 9 years, and then you're out. It is a phenomenal high yield cash flow investment. Both of these are only open to accredited investors. That email address right there is how you can request the form to fill it out to certify that you are an accredited investor, at which point we'll be able to send you information on one or both of these opportunities. shares@ecidevelopment.com. Send us a note. We'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in owning a property anywhere in any of our properties, send us a note. We'd love to have the opportunity to chat with you and see if there's a good fit between what you want in a home or a product or an investment and what we have to offer. We've been doing this a long time. When you're ready, we'll be ready. But there's really no time like the present. Everything on that chart is moving. The time machine continues to move forward. This is your chance to get on the time machine, go back, and have the do-over you wished you could have. This is really that opportunity. So thank you very much. I'm going to pause it now, stop sharing, and give it back to Alyssa. I don't know if we have any questions this evening or where we are in time. I think I probably went long. I did go long. My goodness, it's
It's
after
okay.
7. My bad.
We're right at the hour, so we
All
do want to
right.
give everybody's time. I do see we have somebody said excellent presentation, Mike, which is true. Mike
Thank
covered
you.
a ton of information tonight. As we shared earlier, his book is available. So if you're interested, either of the two email addresses that Mike shared, either the shares@ECI or the information at or info at, you can email either of those and we will be more than happy to send you over a link for that, as well as you will all be getting the consumer resource guide that Mike mentioned at the beginning. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us at either of those email addresses, and we hope to see lots of you join us overseas in the next several years. Thank you all for
Indeed.
joining us tonight, and we hope that you guys all have a great rest of your week.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.